Hey everyone, it's Grayson, and this is Grayson Talks Everything. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're not new and are returning, welcome back. Do be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and also follow my Instagram so you never miss the latest updates on videos of mine are coming out, and to just like and admire some art that I post on that page as well. Some of that should be showing up on the screen right now. Alright, and again, the link to my Instagram is always in my description, but if you want to know my Instagram tag right now so you can follow me immediately, that should be showing up on the screen right now. Alright, let's get into it. So today, I'm finally getting to and breaking down and reviewing Hawkeye episode 3 with spoilers. So obviously this came out pretty late, like literally tomorrow is like when episode 4 debuts, and I think that's because, well, for me, is because schoolwork has been piling up on me before Christmas break starts, so I haven't really had the time to do this. I was only able to do the breakdown part of it, and I almost forgot to do my intro, and that's just because, again, a lot of stuff has been happening, and by this point, some of my breakdowns on this episode might be seen as old news by even tomorrow, because like yesterday was confirmed by Kevin Feige that Charlie Cox is possibly returning as Daredevil, so that's all exciting. So, yeah, let's just get into it. Well, what do you know? Once again, there is more to a Marvel Disney Plus episode that meets the eye and raises the stakes and expectations beyond the first 2 episodes, first with WandaVision and now with Hawkeye. I also just have to say that the car chase scene that was ripped right out of the comics was done phenomenally well, especially with all the trick arrows on display, especially the Pym Particles arrow. That was truly awesome. I also just like to mention that Alaqua Cox, with still how little we've seen of her, is already doing a great job as Echo, with her backstory being beautifully fleshed out in the first couple of minutes into the episode, which we'll get to later. And what ties her back in with Clint and Ronan is truly devastating and well done, to the point where I'm kinda almost rooting for her. I also love how they incorporated Alaqua's actual prosthetic leg, which is actually seen to come quite in handy in one of the action scenes. I also hope that Kazi, seen in this show as of now as sort of Echo's sidekick, gets to level up on the show because he's a considerably bigger character in the comics the show is based on. Overall, I'm overwhelmingly excited for the next episode next week because this show keeps on getting better and better. So let's break it all down. Maya Lopez is officially a member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The character, played by Alaqua Cox, made her brief MCU debut as Echo at the end of Hawkeye's 2nd episode, and the show's latest installment basically picks up where its predecessor left off. But before Hawkeye episode 3 catches up with Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, it takes a brief trip into the past and reveals Echo's MCU origin and introduces viewers to her late father, William, played by the always great Zane McLaren. While Hawkeye sticks fairly close to Maya's comic book backstory as well, it does make some important changes to her origins, and those changes may not only impact Hawkeye, but also Marvel's Echo Disney Plus spinoff. In the comics, Maya Lopez is a deaf girl whose father works as an enforcer for Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. However, after her father is killed on Kingpin's orders, Maya is taken in and raised by Fisk, who later tells her that Daredevil is her father's murderer. That lie sends Maya on a quest to get revenge on Daredevil, which ends with Matt Murdock revealing the truth to her. In response to Fisk's trickery, Maya shoots him and sets out on her own. For the most part, Hawkeye episode 3 presents a fairly faithful adaptation of Maya's comic book origin story. The show reveals that Maya's father is a member of the Tracksuit Mafia and heavily implies in one of its early scenes that he works directly under Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk, who has long been rumored to have a role in Hawkeye. However, the episode also clearly shows that it's Clint Barton, aka Ronan, who slays her father, not Wilson Fisk or one of his men. That's a change that not only ties Echo's MCU backstory directly into the central plot of Hawkeye, but also raises some interesting possibilities for the character's broader future. Maya Lopez is notably one of the several Marvel characters who has donned the Ronin mantle in the comics. With that in mind, her interest in catching Ronin in Hawkeye opens the door for Maya to adopt the moniker at some point in either Hawkeye, Echo, or some other future MCU project. That's assuming, of course, she gives up her quest for vengeance by the time Hawkeye has come to an end. More importantly, Hawkeye's decision to make Clint responsible for William Lopez's passing means Maya and Wilson Fisk's relationship may play out very differently on screen than it did in the comics. Without the shadow of her father's murder hanging over the character's bond, Marvel will have to come up with a new way to complicate Maya's relationship with Fisk, which will almost surely play a central role in the Echo Disney Plus series. Again, that's assuming that William's boss in the MCU does indeed turn out to be Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk. Fortunately, we're pretty confident that's the case. Hawkeye Episode 3's prologue also concludes with Maya holding her father's lifeless body, his bloody handprint still on her cheek. Maya's father similarly leaves a bloody handprint on his daughter's face when he dies in the comics, and she goes on to frequently paint a handprint on her face as an adult. Therefore, while William's bloody handprint in Hawkeye may be nothing more than a reference to the comics, viewers should probably prepare themselves for the possibility that Alako Cox's Maya will eventually appear with the painted handprint on her face in either Hawkeye or Echo. Alako Cox makes quite the first impression as Maya Lopez, aka Echo in Hawkeye Episode 3, and it's easy to see why Marvel is so interested in continuing the character's MCU story after Hawkeye. But while we'll have to wait and see exactly how Maya's journey across Hawkeye and Echo plays out on screen, the character's MCU origin story does a lot to set the character up for a compellingly difficult path and different path than the one she took in the comics. Did Hawkeye just do what we think it did? Episode 2 ended with a huge villain reveal, finally giving Marvel fans a glimpse at Maya Lopez, aka Echo. And in Episode 3, we learned more about her upbringing as a deaf child raised by her father in a world that doesn't understand her. By the end of the episode, a mysterious figure only referred to as Uncle has been mentioned a number of times, but the only glimpse of the character was a hand pinching Maya's cheek after a karate match. So who could this Uncle be, considering he's the true villain of the entire show? To comics fans, there's only one real explanation. Kingpin is back, and here's everything you need to know. Echo's backstory was originally fleshed out in Daredevil Volume 2, Issue 10, published in June 1999. That's right, Echo is first and foremost a Daredevil character, and she was even a love interest for Matt Murdock, briefly. In her Marvel Cinematic Universe backstory, we see how she coped with being a young and deaf, and how she channeled her energy into the arts, including martial arts. While in Hawkeye, her dad was present until she was a young adult. In the comics, he passed away when she was a small girl. Echo was essentially raised by none other than Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, who told her that Daredevil murdered her father, making her insist on getting revenge at all costs. In reality, Kingpin was behind the hit on Maya's dad. Considering this comic's history, there's only one person who could be close to Maya's father throughout her life, Kingpin. This would align with the number of leaks suggesting that Vincent D'Onofrio's character from the Netflix series would be introduced into the MCU, as well as the possibility of Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, who would be appearing in Spider-Man No Way Home. If Kingpin is in fact the uncle Episode 3 alludes to, Kate and Clint are about to get into a lot more trouble than some tracksuit bros tying them to mechanical ponies. As a mob boss, Wilson Fisk has fingers in all sorts of pies and probably is the head of the mysterious Sloan Ltd. Referenced in Bishop Security's files on Kazi. If Echo's inclusion wasn't enough of a signal Daredevil was going to be brought into the Marvel fold, this episode confirms it. Echo is not merely a character borrowed from the Daredevil universe in order to give Clint someone to relate to regarding his hearing loss. She's not a fluke, she's a warning sign. Even though she was raised by her dad, unlike in the comics, it's clear Maya has a close relationship with her uncle, even if they aren't blood relatives. What could he possibly want with the Avengers artifacts, though? What could he want with Ronin? Does he have something to do with Kate's possible murderous soon-to-be stepfather? Hopefully, we'll get answers to all these questions in the next 3 weeks. So that's it. That is my spoiler review and breakdown of Hawkeye Episode 3 before Hawkeye Episode 4 comes out tomorrow morning. What did you think of this episode and what did you think of this video? Share all your thoughts down below. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss the latest updates on videos of mine are coming out. And again, just like and admire some fan art of mine that I regularly post on there. Alright, again, sorry for this being super late. That's totally on me. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Alright, bye everyone.